Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I am going to do a quick video from outside the hotel in Charleston again. Sorry for the awkward placement, but they have speakers everywhere, and so I will end up getting a copyright strike if I sit in some of the places. And given that it's a Saturday and it's absolutely crazy out here, there are a lot of people, so I had to kind of go sit in a corner. So there I am. But what I want to talk about today has nothing to do with Tesla. Well, not directly at least. I will actually mention Tesla towards the end. But if you're not interested in this stuff, then just tune into the next one, whatever. But this is important. This came out just a couple of days ago, and there is evidence that I've talked to people who say that this is actually kind of an ongoing thing in Japan, but I think it's a big enough deal that it's worth talking about. So the title of this article from technomancers.ai, and I'll put a link to that in the description, is Japan goes all in, copyright does not apply to AI training, which is the stuff that you use to actually train AI models. Now, why does this matter? This is a lot of lawsuits have been instantiated against other companies like Midjourney, and I don't think OpenAI has been involved yet because probably nobody wants to fight with Microsoft and they know they'd have to do that. But a lot of the smaller companies have had attacks on them for violating copyright, including very notably from Getty Images, because some of Midjourney's images and other things have like the Getty logo or part of it in the corner of the image, and so they're like, look, you used our images for your training, you can't say no to that. The problem for me is basically that the word copyright is literally the right to copy. That's what it means. And if you're not copying something, then it doesn't apply. And so I'll give you my TLDR right now that I completely agree with this Japanese decision, and that is that copyright should not pertain to training. It would be just like copyright pertaining to me as a human being, learning from the works of Picasso or Rembrandt or photographers or Banksy or whoever, that if I emulate them or if I utilize what I've learned from them, how is that violating copyright? It's not. So anyway, let's go ahead and read this article from Delos Prime, great name, from a couple of days ago at this point. I actually saw this a while ago, but just haven't had a chance to do this episode yet. In a surprising move, Japan's government recently reaffirmed it will not enforce copyrights on data used in AI training. The policy allows AI to use any data, quote, regardless of whether it is for non-profit or commercial purposes, whether it is an act or other than reproduction, or whether it is content obtained from illegal sites or otherwise. That last part is rather interesting. The Japanese Minister of Education, Culture, Sport, Science, and Technology confirmed the bold stance to a local meeting, saying that Japan's laws won't protect copyrighted materials used in AI datasets. Japan AI and copyright. English language coverage of the situation is sparse. It seems the Japanese government believes copyright worries, particularly those linked to anime and other visual media, have held back the nation's progress in AI technology. And ding ding, I will give them a big thumbs up on that. I guess I actually tend towards libertarian in terms of not regulating things until you see problems. I actually am a person who believes that we shouldn't be regulating or over-regulating AI in the near term because it's not that good yet, and we need to see where it goes, and we don't need to stifle innovation. So anyway, all sorts of controversial topics from me today, or stances. In response, Japan is going all in, opting for a no copyright approach to remain competitive. The news is part of Japan's ambitious plan to become a leader in AI technology. Rapidus, a local tech firm known for its advanced 2-nanometer chip technology, is stepping into the spotlight as a serious contender in the world of AI chips. With Taiwan's political situation looking unstable, Japanese chip manufacturing could be a safer bet. Interesting. Japan is also stepping up to help shape the global rules for AI systems within the G7. Artists versus businesses, artists lose. Yeah, very much so, artists lose, and I really do feel bad for artists. I mean, I train artists all the time, but not everyone in Japan is on board with the decision. Many anime and graphic art creators are concerned that AI could lower the value of their work. But in contrast, the academic and business sectors are pressing the government to use the nation's relaxed data laws to propel Japan to global AI dominance. Despite having the world's third largest economy, Japan's economic growth has been sluggish since the 1990s. Japan has the lowest per capita income in the G7. With the effective implementation of AI, it could potentially boost the nation's GDP by 50% or more in the short term. For Japan, which has been experiencing years of low growth, this is an exciting prospect. It's all about the data. Western data access is also key to Japan's AI ambitions. The more high-quality training data available, the better the AI model. While Japan boasts a long-standing literary tradition, the amount of Japanese language training data is significantly less than the English language resources available in the West. However, Japan is home to a wealth of anime content, which is popular globally. It seems Japan's stance is clear. If the West uses Japanese culture for AI training, Western literary resources should also be available for Japanese AI. What this means for the world. This is the interesting part, of course, because we can talk about Japan specifically, but what does this mean for the world? On a global scale, Japan's move adds a twist to the regulation debate. Current discussions have focused on a, quote, rogue nation scenario where a less developed country might disregard global frameworks to gain an advantage. But with Japan, we see a different dynamic. The world's third largest economy is saying it won't hinder AI research and development. Plus, it is prepared to leverage this new technology to compete directly with the West. Okay, so number one, the one person who on Discord, one of my Patreon patrons, told me that one of the issues that we've got here is actually anime in particular, and that Japan wants to be able to have people utilize the anime style in their AI work, and that is one of the major contributing factors. And also that anime actually is has not been protected by copyright very strongly in Japan for a long time, like long before any of this came up. And so it sounds like what's going on here is that Japan has historically had a relatively more lax view about copyright law and how it applies to graphic novels, how it applies to their writing, and on and on. The United States, in the guise of Disney, has pushed very, very, very strongly for copyright to be extended and made stronger and stronger over time, as opposed to a country like Japan, where it sounds like what they've had historically is a more relaxed sort of view to that, which is that as long as you're not doing anything ridiculous, it's okay. So to go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this, what is going on here is that copyright, again, is literally the right to copy a work. So if I went and took a photograph from a famous photographer, scanned it into the computer, reproduced that work, and then signed it, it actually wouldn't even matter if I signed it as that photographer. If I did sign it as that photographer, that would actually fall under fraud. So that's a little bit different. But even if I just reproduced that exactly and then sold it, so even if I put it in something like a book or something like that, if I sold it, put it in a book, whatever, got commercial recompense for that, that would be something that would be violation of copyright, because I am directly copying what they're doing. On the other hand, if I, as a painter, as a sketcher, a sketch artist, as a writer, as a photographer, whatever, if I take inspiration from someone and say like, oh, this artist does lots of photographs of cool doors. I actually just saw this at an art gallery in Charleston a couple of days ago. I was walking by, and it was all photographs or paintings of doors. And I was like, that's really super cool. That's really interesting. But what if I wanted to do that? If I get out my camera, so I'm inspired directly by that artist, but then if I go and get out my camera and take my own pictures of doors, there's no copyright issues to that at all. I have the complete legal right to go ahead and make that type of art myself and attempt to sell it. And if I sell it, that's fantastic. Same thing would go for literary work. Same thing would go for paintings. Same thing would go for sketching. Same thing is going to eventually go for music and for videos and for all of the other types of art. And yeah, it really does suck. I mean, for somebody who spent a career doing 3D art, training people in 3D art, all of that kind of stuff, it's like this really blows that eventually we're going to be looking at a situation where these skills are not very necessary anymore. Completely sucks from the point of view of the person who spent a lifetime learning how to do this stuff, but from the point of view of copyright, it just seems like a no-brainer. You're not copying these things, you're using them to train. They're in a data set that the algorithm is using to train itself. It's not something that is being directly copied. It's generative art, it's not copy and paste art. And even copy and paste art has some protections in terms of like Photoshop. If you make enough adjustments to an image or collage it or something like that, that falls under fair use. But we don't even have to deal with those kinds of laws, because this is not copying, this is generative art that is inspired by that type of work. So anyway, those are my thoughts, controversial as they are. I will probably get an earful of that in the description, especially from my artist friends and so forth. I know a lot of them that are very, very upset about this stuff, but I just think copyright protection is the wrong direction to go with this. There's got to be something better to do to try to protect yourself or remain relevant in the world coming up. I don't know exactly what that is, but copyright seems like the wrong direction to go. It's punitive, it's reactive, it just seems unnecessary. And if any country does really, really heavily go the copyright direction, they're just going to fall behind in this arms race that's happening. Okay, so there are my thoughts. Like and subscribe, do all that stuff. Check out the merch store links, check out the Patreon link, the Twitter subscriber link, the YouTube channel member link, all of that good stuff. And in the meantime, I will see everybody in the next one. Bye-bye.